Close your eyes and imagine for a moment that you are suspended in the absolute center of a cosmic void. There are no stars here, no sun to warm your skin, no horizon to ground your senses, just a silence so heavy, so profound, that it feels like it is physically crushing the very air from your lungs. We have spent the entirety of our human existence on a fragile, shimmering blue marble, protected by a thin, delicate veil of atmosphere that we call home. We look up at the night sky, and we wonder, with a mixture of hope and dread, if we are alone in this vast, echoing cathedral of space. But perhaps the more terrifying question, the one that keeps astronomers awake in the cold hours of the night, isn't whether someone is out there, but what is out there. Beyond the reach of our most powerful telescopes, in the deep, lightless corners of the Milky Way, there are worlds that defy every law of nature we hold dear. There are planets where the rain is not water, but molten glass, whipped into a frenzy by winds that scream at 7 times the speed of sound. There are worlds where the very ground beneath your feet is a pressurized diamond that would crush you into a single solitary atom in a heartbeat. There are places where time itself seems to warp, where the sun never sets, and where the shadows themselves have a weight and a hunger. Earth is not the standard of the universe. Earth is the exception. Earth is the miracle. And tonight, we are leaving the safety of our miracle behind. We are descending into the cosmic basement, to the places where physics breaks, where light goes to die, and where the universe reveals its most twisted, most beautiful, and most terrifying nightmares. These are the 12 planets more terrifying than Earth. Prepare yourself, because once you truly see what the universe is capable of, once you understand the sheer, indifferent scale of the violence that exists just beyond our atmosphere, you will never look at a clear night sky the same way again. You will realize that we are not just living on a planet. We are hiding on one. We are sheltered by a cosmic fluke, a momentary pause in the grand, chaotic symphony of destruction that defines the rest of the cosmos. Tonight, we pull back the curtain. Tonight, we face the abyss. Number 12. TOI 849b, the Naked Giant. Our journey into the heart of cosmic horror begins with a world that, by all accounts, simply should not exist. Imagine a planet the size of Neptune, but without its thick protective layers of swirling gas. This is TOI 849b, a world that has been stripped to its very soul, leaving only a raw, bleeding core exposed to the vacuum of space. Located 730 light-years away in the constellation of TOI, it orbits its parent star so closely that a year, the time it takes to complete a full revolution, lasts only 18 hours. But it isn't the blistering heat that makes TOI 849b so profoundly terrifying. It is its history. Scientists believe this was once a massive gas giant, a king of its planetary system, shrouded in thousands of miles of hydrogen and helium. But something, perhaps the violent, unrelenting radiation of its parent star, or a catastrophic, world-shattering collision with another massive body, tore its atmosphere away, layer by layer, until only the massive metallic core remained. To stand on the surface of TOI 849b is to stand on the exposed skeleton of a dead god. The surface is a scarred, cratered wasteland of heavy metals, iron, nickel, and magnesium, all baked by a sun that looms 10 times larger in the sky than our own. There is no air to breathe, no wind to cool the ground, only the relentless, silent bombardment of radiation from a star that is slowly eating what remains of this planetary corpse. It is a Chthonian world, a planet born in fire and destined to end as a naked, scorched rock, drifting through the dark like a ghost ship in a graveyard. It is a reminder that in the universe, even the giants can be brought to their knees, and that the very things that make a planet grand can be the very things that lead to its ultimate naked destruction. Number 11. Ogle 2005 BLG 390LB, The Eternal Winter. If TOI 849b is a world of fire and exposed metal, our next destination is its absolute chilling opposite. Deep in the direction of the galactic center, hidden behind clouds of interstellar dust, lies Ogle 2005, BLG 390LB. It is a world of absolute zero, a place where the very concept of warmth is a forgotten myth, a ghost of a memory from a distant, sun-drenched past. While Earth enjoys the steady, life-giving warmth of a yellow dwarf star, this planet orbits a dim, dying red dwarf, a star that flickers like a candle in a hurricane. It is so far from its sun that the surface temperature never rises above -220 degrees Celsius. At these temperatures, the physics of life as we know it simply ceases to function. The very air we breathe, the nitrogen, the oxygen, the carbon dioxide, would freeze solid and fall to the ground like a fine, toxic snow. On Ogle, the atmosphere isn't a gas. It's a layer of ice, miles deep, encasing the entire planet in a tomb of frozen air. There is a specific, psychological kind of horror in the cold. On Ogle, there is no motion, no sound. The molecules themselves have almost stopped moving, trapped in a state of near stasis. It is a world of perfect crystalline silence. If you were to step onto its surface, your blood would freeze in your veins before your heart could even finish its next beat. You would become a permanent statue, a monument to the loneliness of the cosmos, preserved forever in a tomb of frozen gas. It is a stark, terrifying reminder that the universe doesn't need fire or explosions to kill you. It can simply take away the energy that makes life possible, leaving you to drift in the eternal, silent dark, a frozen speck in an infinite, uncaring void. Number 10. Venus, the evil twin. We don't have to travel light years across the galaxy to find a nightmare. Sometimes the monster is right next door, hiding in plain sight, masquerading as a twin. Venus is often called Earth's sister planet because of its similar size and composition. But if Earth is a lush, vibrant garden, Venus is a high-pressure slaughterhouse, a vision of what happens when a world loses its way. Imagine a world where the clouds are not made of water vapor, but of concentrated sulfuric acid, thick enough to dissolve steel and sear the very lungs from your chest. Imagine a world where the atmospheric pressure is 90 times that of Earth, the equivalent of being 3,000 feet underwater, where the weight of the air alone would crush your ribcage and flatten your skull like a tin can under a steamroller. The temperature on Venus is a constant, unrelenting 470 degrees Celsius day and night from the poles to the equator. It is hotter than Mercury, despite being twice as far from the sun. This is the ultimate greenhouse effect gone wrong, a runaway cycle of heat that has been trapped by a thick, choking blanket of carbon dioxide for billions of years. The surface is a yellowish, hazy wasteland of volcanic plains and jagged obsidian rocks, illuminated by the dim, sickly orange light that manages to filter through the acid clouds. There is no water, there is no wind. There is only the sound of the crushing atmosphere and the slow, agonizing sizzle of a world that is being cooked alive. Venus is a vision of Earth's possible future, a grim planetary warning that the balance of life is incredibly delicate, and once it breaks, the result is a hell that never ever ends. It is the ghost of a world that could have been like ours, but instead chose the path of fire and acid. Number 9. Corot 7b, the rock rain. Imagine, if you can, a world where the very ground you walk on is not solid, but a shifting, boiling, molten sea of liquid stone. This is Corot 7b, a planet that orbits its star so closely that it is tidally locked. One side is forever trapped in a blinding, white-hot day, while the other is plunged into an eternal, freezing night. On the day side, the temperature reaches a staggering 2,500 degrees Celsius. This is hot enough to vaporize rock. Imagine that for a second. The mountains, the valleys, the very crust of the planet is being boiled away into a thick silicate steam. This rock vapor rises into the atmosphere, forming massive, glowing clouds of mineral gas that hang over the horizon like a shimmering golden fog. But then, the wind carries these clouds toward the night side. As the temperature drops, the vaporized rock condenses. It doesn't fall as rain, it falls as pebbles. thousands of tiny, jagged stones raining down from the sky at terminal velocity, pelting the surface in a never-ending storm of gravel. To stand on the border between day and night on Koro T7b is to witness the most violent weather in the cosmos. On one side, a boiling ocean of lava, on the other, a frozen wasteland of solid rock, and in between, a perpetual hurricane of falling stones. It is a world that is literally eating itself, one pebble at a time. The sound of the rock rain hitting the ground would be a deafening, rhythmic clatter, a sound that would echo across the barren landscape like a million tiny hammers. It is a world of pure, unadulterated chaos, a place where the very elements of nature are in a constant, violent struggle for dominance. It is a world that has forgotten what it means to be solid, a place where the very ground is a weapon. Number 8. Gliese 436b, the burning ice. If Korot 7b is a world of fire and stone, our next destination is a world of pure scientific madness. Gliese 436b is a planet that defies everything we know about thermodynamics. Imagine a ball of ice, roughly the size of Neptune, orbiting its star at a distance so close that its surface temperature is over 400 degrees Celsius. By all the laws of physics we understand on Earth, that ice should have melted, evaporated, and vanished billions of years ago. But Gliese 436b is still there, a frozen sentinel in the heart of a furnace. The secret lies in its gravity. The planet is so massive and its core so dense that the gravitational pressure is immense. This pressure is so strong that it forces the water molecules into a solid state, even at temperatures that would melt lead. Scientists call this ice seventh, a form of ice that is denser and more stable than the ice in your freezer. But here is the terrifying part. Because the surface is so hot, the outer layers of this hot ice are constantly sublimating into steam, which then catches fire due to the intense radiation of the nearby star. To look at Gliese 436b is to see a giant glowing ball of ice that is literally on fire. It is a paradox of nature, a frozen hell that burns with a blue, ghostly flame. It is a reminder that in the deep reaches of space, the rules of reality are merely suggestions, and the universe is capable of creating things that our minds can barely comprehend.
It is a world that is both a freezer and a furnace, a place where the very concept of solid is a lie. Number 7. 55. Cancri E, the Diamond Hell. For centuries, humans have fought and died for diamonds. We see them as symbols of wealth, beauty, and eternal love. But if you were to travel 40 light-years to the constellation of Cancer, you would find a world that turns our most precious gem into a nightmare. 55. Cancri E is a super-Earth, twice the size of our home planet and 8 times as massive. But it isn't made of rock and water. It is believed to be composed largely of carbon in the form of graphite and diamond. The interior of this planet is a pressurized furnace. The immense weight of the planet's outer layers crushes the carbon in its core into a solid crystalline diamond the size of a small moon. From a distance, it might look like a sparkling jewel in the dark. But up close, the beauty vanishes, replaced by a crushing, suffocating reality. The surface of 55 Cancri E is a hellscape of molten lava. Because it orbits its star so closely, completing a full year in just 18 hours, the side facing the star is a permanent ocean of liquid fire. The atmosphere is thick with hydrogen and helium, but also with vaporized minerals that create a choking, toxic haze. Imagine standing on a shore of solid diamond, watching waves of white-hot lava crash against the coast. The pressure is so great that your body would be crushed into a pulp before you could even register the heat. It is a world of ultimate greed and ultimate death, a diamond that no one can ever touch, guarded by a sea of fire that never goes out. It is a reminder that the things we value most on Earth can be the very things that kill us in the deep reaches of space. It is a world that is a literal jewel in the dark, but one that is polished by the fires of hell. Number 6. HD 189733b, the Cobalt Slasher.
From a distance, HD 189733b looks like a peaceful, deep blue marble. It is a world that seems to mirror the beauty of Earth's oceans. But as you get closer, the blue begins to reveal its true, terrifying nature. This is a hot Jupiter, a gas giant that orbits its star so closely that its atmosphere is a boiling cauldron of silicate particles. The blue color isn't from water. It is from the light scattering off billions of tiny, microscopic grains of glass. The winds on HD 189733b are some of the fastest ever recorded in the universe. They scream across the planet at 5,400 miles per hour, 7 times the speed of sound. At these speeds, the wind doesn't just blow, it cuts. Imagine a hurricane that never ends, a hurricane where the rain is made of molten glass. Because of the extreme heat and the supersonic winds, the glass doesn't fall straight down, it rains sideways. To stand on the surface of HD 189733b, if you could even find a surface to stand on, would be to experience death by a million cuts. The glass particles would shred your skin, your clothes, and your very bones in a fraction of a second. It is a world of pure, unadulterated violence, a beautiful blue trap that hides a meat grinder of glass and wind. The sound of the glass rain hitting the ground would be a deafening, rhythmic clatter, a sound that would echo across the barren landscape like a million tiny hammers. It is a world of pure, unadulterated chaos, a place where the very elements of nature are in a constant, violent struggle for dominance. It is a world that has forgotten what it means to be peaceful, a place where the very air is a weapon. Number 5. WASP-76b, the Iron Foundry. If HD 189733b is a world of glass, our next destination is a world of metal. WASP-76b is a planet that is literally bleeding. This is another hot Jupiter, tidally locked to its star. On the day side, the temperature reaches a staggering 2,400 degrees Celsius. This is hot enough to vaporize iron. Imagine that for a moment. The very metal that makes up our cars, our buildings, and our blood is being boiled into a thick metallic steam. But then, the wind carries this iron vapor toward the night side. As the temperature drops to a cool 1,500 degrees, the iron vapor condenses. It doesn't fall as rain. It falls as liquid iron. Imagine standing on the night side of WASP-76b in the pitch-black darkness and hearing the sound of heavy metallic droplets hitting the ground. The sky is literally raining molten iron. The ground is a sea of liquid metal, glowing with a dull red heat. This is a world that is a literal foundry. It is a planet that is constantly recycling its own metallic core, boiling it into the atmosphere, and then raining it back down in a never-ending cycle of fire and metal. It is a vision of a world that is being forged and reforged every single day, a planet that is as beautiful as it is deadly. The sound of the iron rain hitting the ground would be a heavy metallic thud, a sound that would echo across the barren landscape like a million tiny hammers. It is a world of pure, unadulterated chaos, a place where the very elements of nature are in a constant, violent struggle for dominance. It is a world that has forgotten what it means to be solid, a place where the very ground is a liquid. Number 4. Kelt 9b, the Star Killer. We have seen planets that are hot, but Kelt 9b is in a league of its own. This is the hottest planet ever discovered. The surface temperature on Kelt 9b is a mind-blowing 4,300 degrees Celsius. That is hotter than the surface of most stars. In fact, Kelt 9b is so hot that its atmosphere is being torn apart at a molecular level. Molecules like water, carbon dioxide, and methane cannot exist on Kelt 9b. The heat is so intense that it rips the atoms apart, leaving only a glowing, ionized gas. The planet is literally being evaporated by its own sun. As Kelt 9b orbits its star, it leaves behind a massive, glowing tail of gas, like a giant comet. It is a planet that is slowly but surely being eaten by its own sun. It is a world that is a literal star killer, a planet that is so hot it is becoming a star itself, but without the mass to sustain it. To look at Kelt 9b is to see the ultimate end of a planetary system. It is a world that is being consumed by the very thing that gave it life. It is a reminder that the universe is a place of extreme violence, where even the most massive planets can be reduced to a glowing cloud of gas in the blink of a cosmic eye. The sound of the atmosphere being torn apart would be a deafening rhythmic roar, a sound that would echo across the barren landscape like a million tiny hammers. It is a world of pure, unadulterated chaos, a place where the very elements of nature are in a constant, violent struggle for dominance. It is a world that has forgotten what it means to be a planet, a place where the very concept of world is a lie. Number 3, Tres 2b, the abyss. We have seen worlds of fire, ice, and glass. But what if the most terrifying thing in the universe isn't what you can see, but what you can't? Welcome to TRES 2b, the darkest planet ever discovered. This is a gas giant, roughly the size of Jupiter, but it reflects less than 1% of the light that hits it. It is darker than coal, darker than black acrylic paint. It is a world that literally swallows light. Why is it so dark? Scientists aren't entirely sure. It might be because of a lack of reflective clouds, or because its atmosphere is filled with light-absorbing chemicals like vaporized sodium and potassium. But whatever the reason, the result is a world that is a literal abyss. Imagine floating in the darkness of space, and suddenly you see a faint red glow. It isn't a star, it is the heat of Tres 2b, glowing like a dying ember in a fireplace. The atmosphere is a sweltering 1,000 degrees Celsius, but there is no light to see it by. To stand on the surface of Tres 2b, if you could even find a surface, would be to experience a darkness so absolute it would feel like a physical weight. You would be surrounded by a hot, choking fog of vaporized metal, with only the faint red glow of the planet's own heat to guide you. It is a world of eternal night, a place where the sun never rises and the stars never shine. It is the ultimate abyss, a world that has forgotten what light even looks like. The sound of the atmosphere would be a low, rhythmic hum, a sound that would echo across the barren landscape like a million tiny hammers. It is a world of pure, unadulterated chaos, a place where the very elements of nature are in a constant, violent struggle for dominance. It is a world that has forgotten what it means to be bright, a place where the very concept of light is a lie. Number 2, Kepler 70b, the survivor. If Tres 2b is a world of darkness, our next destination is a world of pure, unadulterated endurance. Kepler 70b is a planet that has survived the impossible. This is a world that was once a gas giant the size of Jupiter, but then its parent star began to die. As the star expanded into a red giant, it swallowed Kepler 70b whole. For millions of years, the planet was inside the star, being cooked by temperatures of thousands of degrees. Most planets would have been vaporized in a heartbeat, but Kepler 70b is a survivor. It was so massive and its core so dense that it managed to hold on, even as its outer layers were stripped away by the star's intense heat and gravity. Eventually, the star shed its outer layers and became a white dwarf. And there, in the center of the planetary system, was Kepler 70b, a tiny, scorched remnant of its former self. It is now a chthonian planet, a naked core of heavy metals, orbiting its star at a distance so close that its surface temperature is a staggering 6,800 degrees Celsius. To look at Kepler 70b is to see a world that has been through hell and back. It is a planet that has survived the end of its own solar system, a monument to the sheer, stubborn endurance of matter in the face of cosmic destruction. It is a world that is literally a survivor, a planet that has seen the end of the world and lived to tell the tale. The sound of the atmosphere would be a low, rhythmic hum, a sound that would echo across the barren landscape like a million tiny hammers. It is a world of pure, unadulterated chaos, a place where the very elements of nature are in a constant, violent struggle for dominance. It is a world that has forgotten what it means to be whole, a place where the very concept of planet is a lie. Number 1. PSR B11257 plus 12, the zombie worlds. We have reached the end of our journey, and at the very edge of the known universe we find the most terrifying worlds of all. These are the zombie worlds, 3 planets that orbit a pulsar, a dead, spinning star that is the remnant of a supernova. The pulsar, known as PSR B1257 plus 12, is a tiny, incredibly dense object that spins hundreds of times per second, emitting beams of intense, deadly radiation. The planets, Poltergeist, Phobator, and Draugr, are the first exoplanets ever discovered, but they aren't like any other worlds we know. They are bathed in a constant, lethal stream of X-rays and gamma rays. The radiation is so intense that it would strip the DNA from your cells in a fraction of a second. The sky on these worlds is a ghostly, flickering green, illuminated by the pulsar's beams. The ground is a frozen wasteland of heavy metals, scarred by the constant bombardment of radiation. There is no life here. There can be no life here. These are the zombie worlds, planets that were born from the ashes of a dead star and are now trapped in a never-ending cycle of radiation and decay. They are the ultimate afterlife of a planetary system, a place where the laws of nature have been replaced by the laws of the dead. It is the most terrifying place in the universe, a world that is literally a poltergeist, a ghost of a world that once was. The sound of the atmosphere would be a low, rhythmic hum, a sound that would echo across the barren landscape like a million tiny hammers. It is a world of pure, unadulterated chaos, a place where the very elements of nature are in a constant, violent struggle for dominance. It is a world that has forgotten what it means to be alive, a place where the very concept of life is a lie. The ending, the pale blue dot. We have traveled to the edges of the galaxy, to the worlds of fire, ice, and darkness. We have seen the glass rains, the iron foundries, and the zombie worlds. And now, as we return to the safety of our own pale blue dot, we are left with a single profound realization. Earth is a miracle. It is a tiny, fragile oasis in a vast, violent desert. We are the lucky ones, the ones who get to live on a world that is just the right temperature, with just the right atmosphere and just the right amount of water. But as we look at the stars, we must remember that the universe is a place of extreme beauty and extreme horror. For every Earth, there are 1,000 Venuses, 1,000 TREs, 2Bs, and 1,000 zombie worlds. We are a tiny, insignificant part of a much larger, much more terrifying story. The next time you look at a clear night sky, don't just see the stars. See the worlds that are out there, waiting in the dark. See the glass rains, the iron foundries, and the abysses. And remember, as you stand on the solid ground of Earth, that you are standing on a miracle. The universe is a place of wonders, but it is also a place of nightmares. And tonight, we have seen the most terrifying nightmares of all. Good night, and may your dreams be filled with the light of 1,000 suns.